good idea, but it is clouded by lots of radicals.
I think most people have the wrong idea of the definition. They don't realize what it is, and some people can be judged by that because they think the definition is one thing when it really is something else. I think it's important for people to know what it is.
I think feminism is the belief that women should have every right that men do, and they should be equal. In today's society, women have already reached a point where they're equal to men. I feel like in modern society, a lot of feminists push more towards the side of that women need to be superior to men because they're already equal.
There's a quotation that I like. Feminism is the radical belief that women are people too.
Hi, and welcome to Feminism 101. Now, a lot of people have some misconceptions about what feminism is. To start off, I'd just like to read y'all the definition. Feminism is the theory of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. Period. Nothing else. Weird. Let's start off talking about the history of feminism. We'll do a brief history focusing in on America and focusing in also on the three main waves of feminism. Although feminism has been around for a very long time, what we classify as the first wave starts around in the 1800s in America, and it focuses mainly on women earning the vote. What was it like to be a 19th century woman? Well, let's paint a quick picture. So the women then had minimal, if any, education. They were only educated enough to be able to raise their children. Their only career options other than being a housewife were to be a seamstress, a teacher, or a housekeeper. Although they had these career options, once they were married, they would lose all wages to their husband. The social stigma surrounding single women as spinsters was too great for any woman to actually want to remain single. Divorce was not really an option in these days. In very few, rare cases, a woman might seek divorce if her husband was beating her. But in these cases, the husband often got to keep custody of the child. Out of all of the problems that were facing these women, the one that most agitated the first wave feminists was the inability to vote. One of the first times that all the first wave feminists came together was at the Seneca Falls Convention. Elizabeth Cady Stanton spearheaded the Seneca Falls Convention. At this convention, which had both men and women, they discussed their grievances. Many women were involved in women's rights and suffrage before the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848, such as the Grimke sisters. The Declaration of Sentiments was penned by Elizabeth Cady Stanton at the convention, and it called for a change in women's status. It listed grievances. It was modeled after the Declaration of Independence and stated, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Some of the grievances listed include: he has never permitted her to exercise her inalienable right to the elective franchise. This was their first point, and their major point, as they were primarily fighting for suffrage. He has compelled her to laws which in the formation of she has had no voice. He has withheld her from rights which are given to the most ignorant and degraded men. He has made her in the law, if married, civilly dead. He has taken her right from all property, even the wages that she has earned. He has made her a morally irresponsible human being, as she can commit many crimes without repercussion. He has denied her the ability to obtain an education. Now, in view of this entire disenfranchisement of one half of the people of this country, their social and religious degradation in view of the unjust laws above mentioned, and because women do feel themselves aggrieved, oppressed, and fraudulently deprived of their most sacred rights, we insisted that they have immediate admission to the rights and privileges which belong to them as citizens of the United States. The method for gaining suffrage these women sought was usually to start state by state. The first state to grant suffrage 21 years after the Seneca Falls Convention was Wyoming. Second wave feminism is who we have to thank for coining many of the terms that we now use in discussing feminism and women's issues. Terms such as feminism itself, sexual harassment, domestic violence, and myth. Second wave feminism focused on some main principles. One of their basic principles was the idea of a sisterhood of women all coming together to help the cause. Another big idea, and probably the mantra of their movement, was the personal is political. The idea that things that happened at home, such as domestic violence, were also political and needed to be addressed with the law. It was the beginning of reproductive rights and sexual harassment. One of the major achievements of second wave feminism is Title VII. Believe it or not, before Title VII, it was actually legal to discriminate in the workplace, but because of it, you can no longer discriminate against women or sexually assault them or harass them at work. The Pay Act is also thanks to second wave feminism, although women still only make 77 cents to a man's dollar. Before that act, we made 52 cents to a man's dollar.
That if we do nothing, it will take 75 years, or for me to be nearly 100, before women can expect to be paid the same as men.
Third wave feminism took place in the 80s. It's a bit more confusing and less straightforward than the other two waves of feminism because it focused more on the individual. It focused on problems such as body image, which we still face today, and sexual harassment and domestic violence, which we still face today, and other issues which are still very much alive today. Feminists are often seen negatively, maybe as man-haters, or as we don't shave, or we hate just everything.
The number one is that feminism believes that women should be superior to men. Nobody ever said that. Feminism says women can do what a man can do. That's all that is. If you believe that a woman is equal to a man intellectually and socially, then you are a feminist. Whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, you are.
Feminism itself is seen as maybe obsolete, like everything has already been accomplished. We have the right to vote, we have supposed equality, or at least the problem of other countries far away where they still have these issues. But it's not. It's still very much relevant today. We still face issues in America, here, at home, today, that feminism seeks to solve. Domestic violence is still a huge issue. It is said that 1 in 6 women will be sexually harassed, assaulted, or just abused. Look around you and count how many women are in the room you're in. How many of them will be abused? And that's an issue that feminism seeks to stop. Too often women are blamed for their assault as well in our society. It's taught that it's more effective to yell fire than rape. Other issues facing women besides domestic abuse include double standards. These are social issues that also affect men. Issues that also affect men, such as emotional double standards. You're taught to be stoic all the time can be more prone to violence. Going back to sexual violence, it's not men who are told not to rape. It's a woman told not to go out and drink, not to wear provocative clothing, not to just go out and live her life and feel safe.
I started questioning gender-based assumptions a long time ago. When I was 8, I was confused at being called bossy because I wanted to direct the plays that we would put on for our parents, but the boys were not. When at 15, my girlfriends started dropping out of their beloved sports teams because they didn't want to appear muscly. When at 18, my male friends were unable to express their feelings. I decided that I was a feminist, and this seemed uncomplicated to me. But my recent research has shown me that feminism has become an unpopular one. Women are choosing not to identify as feminist.
As a kid, my parents were basically, they expected that I would do whatever I was going to do. I don't think they ever said, you should do this or you should do that because you're a girl. They just said, you should do this because it's the right thing to do.
Why do you think feminism is important?
How about the fact that women are penalized for having a family in the career fields? How about the fact that when someone says they were raped, the first question is often, well, what did you do wrong? How about the fact that 95% of CEOs are male? There's an argument to be made that there's some sociological stuff going on there, and I'm all for investigating that. Let's find out why this is the case. But when it comes right down to it, there's no reason that a woman can't run a corporation while having a family, that she can't be nurturing and assertive at the same time. And we need feminism because currently women are penalized for these things, for trying to do everything. And I've never seen anyone say to a man, well, you can't do 3 things at once. Why not?
The Equal Rights Amendment, or ERA, was written in 1923 by Alice Paul, a prominent feminist who actually started her own organization. The Equal Rights Amendment itself, which was considered by Paul to be the next step after women's suffrage. Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. The Congress shall have the power to enforce, by appropriate legislation, the provisions of this article. This amendment shall take effect 2 years after the date of ratification. Those are the 3 parts and the only parts to the Equal Rights Amendment, yet it still has not been ratified. Though it has been introduced into every single session of Congress. To get involved and help solve these problems, there are several ways you can do this. For the equal pay, there's the Fair Pay campaign, which you can try and get involved with, or go to their website to learn more about the issue. One of the newest foundations, which was established by the UN and Emma Watson, is the He for She campaign, which seeks to include men in feminism. Another way that you can get involved is just to consider yourself a feminist.
I don't know that I ever actively said, oh, I'm a feminist, because it never occurred to me that I might need to be until I was probably well into college. I think that was the first time that I ever actually had to say, yeah, I'm a feminist. Why aren't you?
Many people say, oh, I believe in equality, but I'm not a feminist. I kind of hate to break this to you, but yeah, you are. Claim it, and we can get a lot of good done. You need feminism because it teaches people to perceive themselves as people, as humans, not necessarily feminine or masculine or whatever. It teaches men that it's okay to have feelings, and it allows them to do that and do what they want instead of being judged for doing things that are more feminine. And it gives women the ability to do the opposite, to not be considered.
Both men and women should feel free to be strong. It is time that we all perceive gender on a spectrum instead of 2 sets of opposing ideals.
To not be defined by their gender.
And if you still hate the word, it is not the word that is important. It's the idea and the ambition behind it. If not me, who? If not now, when? If you have similar doubts when opportunities are presented to you, I hope that those words will be helpful.
As sly as a fox, as strong as an ox, as fast as a hare, as brave as a bear, as free as a bird.